Good morning, actually, it's good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining Midday Prayer. I am MIT Verlitha. I'll be leading Midday Prayer today for Restoration Springs Ministries. Um, Lord, thank you for today. And before I get into that, if there's any prayer requests, you can leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best to get to them today. If not, we'll review them afterwards. And you can also, if you're watching this on the repeat, you can also leave a prayer request, and we'll be sure to get to those prayer requests. I'm just gonna, today is a better day than it has been for me. And yesterday service really kind of tipped the scale for me and how I have been feeling. And I appreciate a good friend, a big brother, sharing with me what he sensed. And he was sensing that something was wrong. And something was wrong. I've been very tense and anxious, worried, overwhelmed, feeling. And yesterday reminded me of who God is and that I don't need to feel anxious and worried and overwhelmed. And because I was in that moment and I let that moment become days and probably about a couple of weeks now that I forgot that I didn't have to be worried or anxious and feeling overwhelmed because God is our comforter, right? And that's what it says in Psalms 23, that thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So if he is with me, he is my rod so that I can hold on to, and then he can comfort me. I needed to remind myself of that, is that he is my comforter. Hello, Dr. Rakia and MIT James. Thank you for joining. And he does say, yes, be anxious for nothing, right? Because when we're anxious, we're trying to anticipate the outcome of the situation or the outcome of our storm, the outcome of our trials, the outcome of our test versus going through it and trusting in Him. And I was anxious anticipating what I think was going to happen or how it was going to happen and when it was going to happen versus going through each day as the day brought forth itself, because he tells us that we are supposed to count it all joy, right? That this is the day that the Lord has made. And that is one of my favorite scriptures amongst many, is that this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. But I wasn't rejoicing and being glad in it. I was being anxious in it. I was being worried in it. I was feeling overwhelmed in it. And I remember receiving a text message and they're like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Oh, it's I said, and I said, to be real about it, I said, I want to scream. I want to just scream out, ah, like, but I was like, what is I going to do? Is that going to be enough? But I needed to, and I should have, because the Lord hears our cries, right? Isaiah 58 and 9. Then thou, then shalt thou call, and the Lord shall answer. Psalms 34 and 17. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth. Isaiah 53 and 9 also, if you do a different translation, it says, thou shalt cry and he shall say, here I am, right? So when we cry out to God, we're saying to God, I need you. Lord, I can't do this by myself. Lord, I'm overwhelmed and I'm anxious. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. And I didn't continuously do that. And I allowed my emotions to gather up upon me and to overtake my spirit. right? The spirit that God has given me, He has given me the power. He has given me He's given me the spirit of love, peace, and a sound mind. But I wasn't in that spirit. I was in the spirit of being anxious and worried and and feeling overwhelmed. And then not realizing, not remembering who God is. Because He says He will never put any more on us than we can handle. So then I have to remember, okay, Verlitha, if you have this on your plate, what's on your plate right now, right? What is on your plate? And can you control what's on your plate? Because really, to be honest with you, part of me feeling anxious and overwhelmed is partially because of me piling stuff up on my plate, right? We put stuff on our plates, and then let's think about it in the perspective of food. You go to a buffet and you see all this delicious food, and you're like, oh, that is all good, right? And then you start piling the stuff on your plate because you want to eat a little bit of everything. And then once you get down and you start eating, you start getting full. But then now it's like I have too much on my plate. So now you're trying to take off what's on your plate because now that plate is getting heavy. Now you feel like you can't carry that plate. Now you feel like that plate is just not overwhelming you because sometimes our eyes are bigger than our stomach, right? Our eyes say, yeah, that's good. We can eat it all. But then when we start eating it, our stomach is like, I don't like all of that. That's too much. Now we start feeling sluggish, right? After you eat, you start feeling sluggish, you get tired. Your stomach may feel uncomfortable for a couple of days because now you got more in you than what's supposed to be there. So I had more on my plate than probably what should have been there. I had more because I look at it now, looking back at it, I wasn't prioritizing. I wasn't laying out what was important, and I didn't set also some deadlines for myself. So we have to be prepared and structured. Good afternoon, everyone who is joining. I can't see all the names because I don't have on my glasses. If I should put them on, I'm on my iPhone today, so what's coming up is a little it's a little blurry. So if I don't call your name out, forgive me. And but I just thank God that no matter what happens and where we are at, is for us to cry out. It is for us to have this time like I'm having now. It's having that conversation with God and saying, you know what, Lord, forgive me. Forgive me for not asking for help. Forgive me for not allowing myself to cry. Forgive me for feeling like I have to be strong when I feel weak. I don't need to always be strong and physical. I have to be strong in the spirit because the spirit is what carries us. The spirit is where our power comes from. The spirit is where our help comes from. The spirit is where our comfort comes from. The spirit is where the healing comes from. The spirit is where the mercy and grace and favor comes from. So I had to, yesterday's service was so powerful because although I was feeling heavy myself and feeling like I needed a break, but the women around me and the people around me, they also needed a break. They also needed someone to pray. So as I'm praying for them and praying them through their breakthrough, I'm getting my breakthrough and my healing. I'm getting my restoration that I need. I'm getting restored and renewed of my strength, right? Because we are supposed to mount up like eagles, and we will have our wings that is going to sustain us, and we're going to soar and fly and to run and not be weary, right? So after yesterday's service, I felt renewed. I felt better. And if anyone who knows me knows that unless there's an emergency, and it got to be a real good emergency, Where am I going to be at on Sunday morning at 10:30? On the second and fourth Sundays, first and second Sundays, 9:30? I'm going to be in the house of God. It's nothing like being in the presence of the spirit, because that spirit move mighty, and it moves mighty every Sunday. But yesterday it was breakthrough, it was freedom. And our morning prayers at 9:30, it sets the atmosphere, right? It shifts the mood and the atmosphere. And if you walk in the same way, if you leave the same way you came in, that's not, and that's between you and God. Because the way the spirit moves, you really should not be walking out the same. Like I said, I walked in feeling heavy. I felt like I needed just my time with me and God, and that's it. And I really was not going in to focus on anybody else but Verlitha. That's because that's what I needed. But what I needed was to help somebody else. And as a result, I got my breakthrough, right? So that was a blessing for me to get that breakthrough. And then we have to just remember too, is, those times that I was feeling like that, that's that's darkness. Because God doesn't give us the spirit of anxiety. He doesn't not give us a spirit of fear, right? That's a darkness. That's the devil working on you, working in your minds, making us feel like we can't do the things. And saying, oh, well, look at what you done did now. You done added that to your plate. How are you even going to do all of that? Who do you think you are? But it got done and it's getting done. It may not be in the time that I have projected, but it still is getting done. And gonna go to I'm gonna probably say it wrong. Micah 7:8. When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light upon me. So even in our darkest times, in our darkest moments, in our darkest feeling, there's that light, and that is God. That is God saying, I'm here. Remember, he would never leave us nor forsake us. It's us who leaves. It's us who forsakes him. It's us who says, I can do it all by myself, right? And now I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So I had to, this morning coming into work and praying before I got started, was, okay, Lord, I'm in a renewed mind, right? Because the word says for us to be, not to be conformed to the world, but to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. So my mind is now renewed. My mind is now refocused, because I'm not focused on the pile that's on my plate right now. My mind is focused on God. I shift my spirit. I allow my spirit to shift my flesh and my mind to say, this is where I need to focus on. I'm not going to focus on the report that is due. I'm not going to be focused on the budget that is due. I'm not going to focus on the bridal suite that is due. I'm not going to focus on the medications that have to get filled up for the next 2 weeks. I'm not going to focus on the bills I got to get paid. I'm not going to focus on the employee that's coming back on Friday and you don't got a laptop for her. I'm not going to focus on the monitors that are here asking for a list of stuff that needs to be submitted in 2 days. I'm not going to focus on the questionnaire that's 20 questions long that has to be detailed. I'm not going to focus on that. And I'm just sharing with you guys some of the stuff that is on my plate that I am dealing with on top of everything else, right? Everything else of being a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a daughter, a friend, all of those other things as well. This is just the layers of stuff that's on the plate that I'm carrying. But I'm focusing on that plate and not focusing on where I'm walking, right? I'm focusing by what? What do we say? We are supposed to walk by faith and not by sight, not by our circumstances, not by that plate of stuff that's on there, right? Put the plate down. Put the plate down and then shift your focus and then ask the Lord to help. So this morning, it's like, okay, Lord, my focus is changed. Lord, help me to remain focused on you. And through that, Lord, help me to clear my plate. Help my mind to stay focused to clear my plate. And then help my mind to stay focused to carry my plate. Because it also goes onto your plate, can also be your cross, right? Because one of the messages that I got in the last week was, he said to pick up your cross and to follow me. So your cross, your plate, your burdens, your worries, your cares, your sorrows, your fears, pick it up and follow me. And we put that cross down sometimes because the cross can get heavy. It can get heavy. So we put it down and then we want to just walk. But that carrying that cross is remembering the weight of that cross and remembering that you can't do it by yourself. Because we're not meant to do it by ourselves. We are meant to do it through Christ who strengthens us. Through Christ. Philippians 4:13, through Christ. So if Jesus carried his cross, and I'm pretty sure Jesus wanted to take that cross and toss it, because he really didn't have to walk with that cross, but he knew the purpose that he was here for. He knew he had to carry that cross, because by carrying that cross, he knew the next steps that was going to happen. Yes, it says before picking up the cross, it says to die, to deny yourself. So yes, deny yourself. To deny your flesh. Don't be prideful in it, because pride is also yourself. Being boastful, being envious, being judgmental, being unforgiving. It's trusting God in all of that. And when Jesus was carrying that cross, he had to carry it because he knew that I was going to need that breakthrough. He knew that I was going to need to be able to pray for somebody else. He knew that this is the day that he had made. He knew the sins of the world. And so he had to go and carry that cross. And Jesus had help, though, carrying that cross. So now Jesus is super Jesus, because I'm going to call him super Jesus, because he is all power. He had the power. He could have carried that cross with one finger if he wanted to. He could have just put the cross up where they wanted it if he wanted to. He had that power, but he followed the steps of man and carried that cross. But he had help carrying that cross when he got tired, right? So when we carry our cross, we have to ask for that help. It's not us that is carrying that cross. It's not just us. Yes, deny ourselves. When you deny yourself, that means you're not relying on yourself. So I was relying on me to carry this plate and to get all these things done, but forgetting where my help comes from. Forgetting who made this day, who has the power to do things. I still have power as well, but I don't have all the power. I am not God. I am not perfect. I am far from it. And it was just, I mean, I just thank you for yesterday. And Evangelist Lewis said it in the morning prayer. He was like, let the people that come in today, if they have to cry, let them cry. If they have to scream, let them scream, just so that they don't walk out the same as they did when they came in. And the other ministers and MITs prayed awesome yesterday as well. It was just powerful. And if you never get a chance to come in at 9:30 to pray with us, it is just amazing, because it's preparing for the service. It's ushering God in. It's setting the tone and the atmosphere for anything else that's coming in through that door. The bishop walked around and put oil around, the holy oil, and we prayed for the spirit to enter in and anything else to remain out. Minister Lewis, he led a prayer about anger, right? What are we angry about? You know, Minister, Minister Henry has been talking about, being going through our seasons, right? So the last couple of weeks was a season for me. It was a season of, okay, where are you focused at? Are you trusting me? Are you walking with me? Or are you walking by yourself? It's almost like a child that gets ahead of their parent when you're in the store, or you're walking somewhere and a child wants to run off. And then now you got to go run to kind of catch up with that child, or go grab their hand and say, look it, you see that car coming? You're about to get hit. Look both ways before you cross the street. And we do that. We get ahead of ourselves. And when we get ahead of ourselves, then not ahead of ourselves, ahead of God, but yeah, ourselves as well. Then we're moving, we're shifting what God can do. We're shifting the help that God can provide us. We're shifting the comfort that He can give us. We're shifting the healing. So we have to be ready in season and out of season, because the attacks are going to always come. They're never going to stop. And when they do stop, then you have to sit back and wonder what's going on, right? We don't like when the attacks are coming up against us, but we're not being attacked. That means there's something that the devil you don't have what the devil wants, because his only mission is to do three things, right? Kill, steal. So he's going to steal it first. He's going to kill it. And after he kills it, he's going to try to destroy it. He's going to destroy it, right? Because if he can destroy it, then in his mind, he's thinking, then it's dead. But we know that God is the creator of all things, that He can resurrect dry bones, right? So the devil can't destroy nothing that does not belong to him. He's not the creator of not anything. He's just a creator of darkness. He's the creator of distraction. He's just the creator of discouragement. He's the creator of discontentment. He's the creator of discord, right? All of the things that God is for, He is against. That's what He creates. But He can't destroy what has already been destined and set out by God and created by God, because God has the final say. So for probably about a month now, we really been talking about storms, preparation, seasons, just going through your testimonies, faith, forgiveness, releasing yourself from the mental bondage that we're in, the physical bondage as well. Just releasing it, because when you release it, and even just crying out and yelling can release some of that frustration that you have. Some people have different ways of releasing, their stress. Some people go work out. Some people, go for a walk. They meditate. They may sing a song. They may do arts and crafts. Prayer is another way of releasing. Prayer is healing. Some people listen to music as a way to release. Like this morning, after I prayed, I had my worship music on. And then, to be honest, I had to turn it off because my phone was dying and I needed it to do prayer today. And so I had to make sure that my phone was charged and ready to go for today's prayer. So I had to turn my music off so I can save my battery, so that I can connect with you all to do today's prayer. Sometimes we have to stop, recharge, and connect with God. So now I had to sit here in my office. There's no one else in my office today but me, in silence, just me and the keyboard and God, right? Sometimes we have to sit in silence. Sometimes it's not even your prayer time, doesn't even have to be you talking, you crying, you yelling, you frustrated. Sometimes it's just sitting in silence. And when you're sitting in silence, then you can hear. It's like when I'm on the phone with a client and the client is upset and they're yelling, they're going on, and I'm in silence. And they're like, hello? Hello? Are you there? And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I'm just allowing you to get out what's bothering you. And then once you're done, then I will give you an answer to your problem. And hopefully that will resolve your problem and we can talk it out. Sometimes we don't allow God to talk to us. And God talks to us in different ways, through different people and different methods. But are we willing to hear what God says? Are we willing to turn over our plates and give it to God? Are we willing to deny ourselves? Are we willing to die to our flesh? Are we willing to transform our minds? I went into today's prayer thinking of something totally different to pray for, but I hope what I have shared with you guys today is a blessing to you as much as it's a blessing to me. For me to share that even though I'm an MIT in training, I am a human being. I bleed just like you do. I cry just like you do. I go to the bathroom just like you do. That it doesn't make me any different than anybody else. It just means I'm going to have probably more trials and more attacks and more moments like this because the devil is going to try to distract me from the goal and the mission that God has, right? Because I've been recruited by God. We all have been recruited by God. We just all haven't said yes. It's kind of like getting that ticket in that envelope in the mail that says you have won, or please call us for this. And sometimes we think about, oh, doing this is like, it is a lot, but it's also rewarding to see the blessings from other people and seeing people get their breakthroughs, people getting healed, hearing their stories. And the bishop talked about it yesterday in service when he said there used to be testimony service. And those used to be really long. So service was already long. I grew up Pentecostal. So you were in church for almost 3 hours. And the testimony services was a time for people to give their testimonies, but also truthful testimonies as well. And if they were really truthful testimony, people were able to get breakthrough and healings from hearing from someone else that I'm not in this alone. It's not just me. No, it's not just you. Know it that you're not in it alone, that you're going to have those moments. And that's the key word, moment. Don't do like I did and let it become a day, a week, 2 weeks. It can only be that moment, because the longer we let it sit and fester, the bigger it becomes. And then the harder it is for us to come back. It's harder for us to come back and transform our mind, renew our mind, to refocus ourselves on God. And that's where you have the help of the church, the people around you. Social media is not always going to be the best answer, because not everybody on social media is telling you, as they want to say it, my truth. I was listening to a radio station last week and they were saying, I believe it's in Australia, that on the Instagram, any post on the Instagram, it has to have a disclaimer. You cannot put an altered image on Instagram. You have to put your real you. So if the real you have a little chichos, then you got to put your real you on there with the little chichos. You can't crop out your chichos and give yourself some abs. You got to put it all up there. And I use the word chichos. So sorry, that's not That's the Latin side, the chichos. But you have to. So that's a disclaimer, right? God is real. Give him a try. God is not. He's not going to. He's not going to ever fail you as long as it's within His will. Sometimes you're like, well, God didn't answer my prayer. Well, it was. It might not have been in His will. That's probably not what God had wanted. That's what you had wanted. That's what we want. But it's not what God wanted. It's not going to get you to your blessing. It's not going to get you to your healing. So we have to go for the real thing. No more artificial. No more fake. No more additives. No more, fillers. Something that's going to fill you up, but then you're still empty inside, right? That's something they call it in the nutrition world, empty calories. Empty calories. What are your empty calories that you have? What are you filling yourself up with? So I'm going to end that today with that. Don't allow a moment to become a day, a week, months, or a year. What are you filling yourself up with? What empty calories are you eating? Because God's word says, what Jesus said in Matthew's, that when he was tested by the devil, after being on the mountain praying for 40 days and 40 nights, he was tempted. And he tempted Jesus 3 times. But he asked, if you are Jesus, then turn this stone into bread. And Jesus said that men should not live on bread alone, but by every word that comes out of God's mouth. So what are we filling ourselves up with, right? Are we filling ourselves up with YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, TV, Netflix, Hulu, video games? Or are we filling ourselves up with the Word of God? Also, as you're going through your moments, when I talk about turn over the plate, but also fast. We don't have to wait for the bishop or your pastor to call a fast. That is part of our daily walk with God. That's part of our getting through our storms. It's fasting. When I know I'm going through things, I do fast. I don't wait for the bishop to call. I love fasting because whenever he says we got fast, I get all excited. But I learned to call my own fast. I learned to do it myself and not wait for the bishop to do it because I need to know how to spiritually fight for myself because I can't rely on the bishop to fight everything for me. I can't rely on another minister to fight for me. I have to be able to fight for myself. And so I do my own fasting. So don't watch when you're in a moment. Don't let it go farther. Watch what you're feeding yourself or filling yourself up with. Fast when you need to. Encourage yourself and meditate on God's word. Lord, thank you for this day, Father. I hope that this has been a blessing for anyone who is on the live right now, Father, and on the repeat. Lord, thank you for renewing my strength and reminding me of who you are and refocusing my eyes on you and not my situations. Lord, protect everyone as they travel this week. Protect them as they go out into the highways and hedges to compel them to come. Father, meet their needs, Father, and meet them where they're at. In Jesus' precious name, amen. Thank you guys for joining us. This was Midday Prayer for Restoration Springs Interdenominational Church. We are located at 1575 Thomason Avenue in Waterbury, Connecticut. The orders of our service is Sundays at 10:30 a.m., Tuesday night Bible study at 7 p.m. We have midday prayer. No, I'm going to go by what he's popping up here for me. We have theologian teaching every Wednesday on Facebook at 6:30. That is a powerful opportunity to sit down and really have the Bible broken down for you by our bishop and our leader of our Light Institute. Prayer times is Mondays and Wednesdays at noon and Fridays at 7 p.m. this week is the MIT. So please come out to definitely get the restoration that you need, or just restoring your strength and your faith, because it can be trying. You're gonna sometimes feel discouraged. Come back and join us. If you feel led to sow a seed, you can do so through Cash App, $RSIC 1997, or PayPal at newrest120@yahoo.com. If you are not able to sow a seed that way and you are a Amazon shopper, you can do it through smile.amazon.com. Very important to put the smile in front. That is Amazon's charity page. Same discounts and items. It's just a way for Amazon to sort out what is charitable and what is a regular donation. Make sure Restoration Ministries is your charity of choice. If you wanted to know more about the Bible, to get deeper into the Bible outside of our Tuesday night Bible study and the Wednesday night Theologian Wednesdays, we have Light Institute Bible College. It is twice a month. So for this month, our next class is this Saturday, the 25th at 9:30. We just had our second year graduation on the 12th, so that was awesome. We had 7 people graduating, so it is a great time to really get the Bible broken down even further than what the bishop does on Wednesdays. And you want to know more about our not organization, but more about our church, you can go to www.rest.org. Thank you guys for joining. I think that's all of the announcements for today. I think our women's group has we just had a paint and praise party this past Saturday. That was awesome. We had a blast. So hopefully you guys can join us for any future events that we have. Be blessed, be encouraged. Remember, God got you. You got this. Keep your focus on Him. Take care until next time.